Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the always online multiplayer gaming podcast brought to you by mmorpg, your home for all things multiplayer related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, as always. It's Friday, May 13th. Happy Friday the 13th. We're doing the show live, of course, twitch.tv/mmobomb. Typically start at 1 p.m., but had some technical difficulties. So we're a little behind schedule, but that's all right. We'll still be streaming after the show and everything. Doing our usual Friday stuff. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on iTunes or Spotify, of course, head on over to mmobomb.com. That's the one that pays the bills. Leave your comments, check out some games, review things for other people, give them your opinions on all the latest and greatest in multiplayer gaming, and of course, read all the wonderful articles, interviews, first look videos, and everything else we put up there. It's much appreciated. But wherever you're watching, give us a like, give us a follow. Feed that algorithm, and if you like what we do, of course, tell your friends. It's easy, it's fast, and it's cheap. In fact, it costs you nothing, and we appreciate it. Joining me, all y'all joining me this week. You got to be here for the pre-show, which today was longer than normal. Miss Quitland Bowers, a.k.a. Q, what's up, y'all?
Dude, I'm finally done living life as a red mage.
Oh, you've hit 90?
Oh.
I have. I've completed all 5 roles and, got to hang out with Emmerich and just need to finish the end role stuff. And I no longer have to sub for being a red mage.
Oh, suffer. I love red mage.
Oh, I hate it.
It's fun. It's fun.
That's so bored.
That's my second main, black mage and red mage. Black mage and red mage.
See, you like those casty classes, though. I play
do.
Dancer and Dragoon. I mean...
Yeah, you do. You do.
I play the bouncy classes.
Joining us, also, we're going to talk about a little bit 14 today, Final Fantasy 14, so it's only appropriate to have Mr. Anthony Jones on. What's up, sir?
Hey, how's it going? How's it going? Thank you for having me back.
Well, you figured, you were here once, so we might as well have you back. No, you did a great job. Yeah. So did Aspen. We're totally happy with everybody new. And if you aren't checking out the articles that these cats are writing, you're missing a lot of good stuff. But how are you this week, sir?
I'm feeling pretty good. This week has been significantly better time management. I still got the tech problems, but besides that, everything's been good.
Yeah, it's been going good.
Yeah.
We like our new staff. We hope you do too. Lots of positive feedback in the comments after some Jason Winter or Summer guy stopped working here about Anthony and Aspen. Everybody's liking both of you, bringing different takes to everything, and we certainly love it. Oh, Jason Winter's in chat. He's happy to finally have some talent on the show. Get rid of that Winter guy. All right, let's slide over and get started with the news, gang. Here we go. All right, everybody wants to know where your cat's at, Anthony. Where's your cat? We haven't seen the cat yet.
She's hiding. Somewhere. She might be under the couch. She might be somewhere in the kitchen. Somewhere.
We'll see her at some point.
Yeah, you'll probably see her.
All right, so this past week, there was kind of a, I don't know what you want to call it, a little bit of a blow-up over on the Final Fantasy 14 front of things. If you're somebody that uses add-ons or has partaken in an add-on discussion, whether it be ACT, whether it be something like G-Shader to improve graphical performance, whether you're using some little add-on to help with your unit frames or visibility of things, just the whole gamut. And it's important to note here that Square Enix and Yoshi P and team, they haven't changed their stance on any of this, right? They have always been not allowed. And if you get caught using them, you will be suspended and maybe even banned for repeated offenses. However, it's kind of come to a head over the last week, and we're going to talk a little bit about it today. If you want some more in-depth discussion about this specific topic, check out last night's The Relic Grind over on Ready Check Radio. We spent an hour and 20 minutes diving into all aspects of this discussion. But Yoshi P did take to the Lodestone queue to kind of put up a post saying, hey, you're still not allowed to use these. But we do want to make sure that, if there are things some of these are being used for that, for example, UI improvements that we might want to consider putting in our game, we need to review those. But we can't give a list of here's the okay ones to use and everything else isn't okay, because we don't have the bandwidth to go through all of them. They're also kind of reticent to install any type of cheating software or whatever to detect if there's any third-party things running and just shut it down that way. So they've always been kind of happy to stand on this wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I can't see what you're using, but as long as you're not using anything that's full-blown cheating and interacting with the software and teleporting your character and stuff like that, which we would be able to detect, if somebody reports you, you run the risk of getting banned or suspended, but what we don't know doesn't hurt us. And now I think that mentality might be biting them in the butt a little bit on this whole process.
I mean, I think the biggest issue that they have with it right now, right, is that they're um worried that, at least for the higher level content and ACT and all of that stuff, that people using it, that the people who don't use it feel like they have to in order to keep up.
Yeah, and then
Right.
they do have the whole sidebar discussion of consoles can't use them at all, and does it create an uneven playing field too?
But I mean, it, it's funny because the way they're addressing it still is kind of basically what we don't know won't hurt us. So the rules of Mod Club are don't talk about Mod Club. And then of course you have the people who were literally we were watching somebody yesterday, the day before, and they're streaming and their entire HUD is super fancy and different, right? Like it's so blatantly obvious that they're modding that it's of course you're going to get busted because you're showing people what you were doing. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of
but
turned into a Twitch witch hunt in some respects, in mass reportings, forums that make things easy to mass report different streamers and things like that. And it's hard to be obviously I don't want this weaponized, and that's what it's become. The community has kind of weaponized this reporting tool. But also by the same token, Anthony, you got to go, you knew the rules, baby. You knew the rules when you decided to boot up today on stream.
Yeah, the rules, it's so funny because like Q was saying, they kind of teeter this line. They don't want to just be hey, you can't do it. But at the same time, they're like, hey, you can do it, but we won't say anything. But
I mean,
I feel
Yoshi
like-
P's been coy on live letters with this smirk saying almost exactly that.
Yeah, it's been like that, and I feel like Ultimate was basically the last straw. People see it, and I don't know. It just became this thing where, because the majority of players don't mess around with add-ons and stuff like that, but people who are kind of the higher content there's kind of this disparity of people don't want to see it, but people who use them, there's an advantage to using them. And I feel like Yoshi P sees that. There is some use of using add-ons, but he works for a company. He's gonna say the things that the company wants him to say. I feel.
Well, and they also don't want to get caught in that trap of now you have to basically develop around them. Not that you have to acknowledge what they do, but that you do have to take them into consideration. And I know this is separate from Final Fantasy XIV, but World of Warcraft has Dragonflight coming out, and we've seen more and more about it. And Ian Hazacostas actually did an interview with Asmongold, and say what you will about Asmon, that's not the point in this discussion. Whether you like him or not doesn't really matter. You have to appreciate the question, though, of, hey, do you take add-ons into consideration? Because things like deadly boss mods or big wigs or weak auras and things like that have changed the game, for better or for worse, might be your own individual opinion, in World of Warcraft. Does the team take that into account? And Ian even said, Q, yeah, we have to, basically. We're at the point where if we don't take those things into account, and we just design a raid encounter, for example, without conceptualizing or thinking through how most of the big add-ons that people would use for this interface with that, then the content would be a lot easier. It would be destroyed faster. And so the obvious follow-up question becomes then, have you ever thought about integrating some of these things into game and then just shutting down the rest? To which Ian says, we're stuck in a tough spot right now. Like, if we want to say, hey, this piece of this add-on is going a little too far in the information it's giving a player for a raid encounter, let's disable that. But in the process of disabling that, they may have now broken 15 other add-ons that may not have been displaying that piece of information, but interfaced with that piece of information in some way, and now unit frames are broken, or this is broken. And so they're stuck in this weird development spot because of the adoption of add-ons over the years and how far they've gotten into the API. And Square certainly wants to avoid something like that, I'm sure, and also stave off the whole, because I'm sure they get support calls of, I got a virus using this, and somebody's like, well, that's not ours. We can't help you. So it is a very, very weird spot. But you got to say that Square's kind of done it to themselves. Maybe an all or nothing approach is the best way to go at this point. I don't know. We'll get your opinions on it and just shut them all down. But without some type of equitable enforcement mechanism, is that even a realistic option, Q?
I mean, I don't think so. I do think the idea of, and they kind of said they're gonna sort of do this, but it makes me curious as to what things they're going to deem worthy of like fixing UIs and stuff like that. Because there are things like, anybody who's played the PvP knows, right, that you can combo keys. There are key combos in XIV, but only in PvP. Right. So if you're playing Dragoon, you're basically playing a freaking piano to play Dragoon, going up and down like 10 keys to do a rotation, right? When a lot of that stuff procs itself, and you could just turn it into a key combo, which would be super useful for accessibility reasons for people who have carpal tunnel or arthritis or whatever.
If it were implemented outside of PvP.
Right.
Implemented in regular play. And it makes more sense to me that it be implemented in regular play, because that's the part that doesn't really affect a lot of people. Like in PvP, if it were, like, it would give you an advantage if only one person was using it and another person wasn't, because you're actually competing with each other. But if you're out running around doing story content, what does it matter? Right? Like that kind of thing. And of course, they're like, well, we don't want to do it because it makes it, it takes the fun out of it or whatever. And it's like, not for everybody. It does not. So make it an option. Make it an option that you can turn on and off. Fine. But then, they have other things that other people turn on to make things easier, like things to identify who, like, instead of seeing nameplates, it just tells you this person's a summoner, or this person's this, or this person's whatever. That makes their life easier. And which of those things count, right? But then you do have the outside stuff like ACT, which will sit there and tell you exactly what move you need to make as things are happening. Like, it's just, there's a little voice that tells you, do this, do this, do this.
Yeah,
do this.
the raid call outs and things like that.
So, I mean, but it is a matter of figuring out which of those things they should apply. At the same time, and this is hilarious, they're so vague about it, that members, free companies are kind of, I've seen a couple of free companies that are leery of doing recruitment now, because their recruitment involves, hey, come join our Discord. And Yoshi P had apparently said that, technically Discord might count as third-party software under, like that whole vagueness. So
yeah, I think that argument's intellectually unfair. That's I think a bit of a little red herring to try and push the argument in a different direction sometimes.
Now they're afraid to recruit because they don't want to tell people, oh, you have to join our Discord, right? Like they're literally holding back on recruiting people because they don't want to say you have to join our Discord, because they don't want to be reported for being like, you have to join our Discord, and everybody getting in trouble for it. Like, it's such a weird situation that people are afraid to recruit people to their free companies now. Like,
So I obviously I don't want to. I want everybody to get their opinion here, because add-ons are used in other games too. We have chat telling us about ESO, which yes, and I have used a number of ESO add-ons on this stream for unit frames and stuff like that to change my UI. That's not even a game that I think I have a damage meter installed for ESO, but only because it was part of the UI thing that I had downloaded. So it wasn't like I went and sought it out. I've never felt the need to use one extensively in Final Fantasy. I did use Act a little bit back in the day when it was like first getting started to see exactly how well it worked, because I came from Recount with World of Warcraft and I wanted to kind of compare it. And but the crew I run with, it's just not necessary. Like, we do the content at our own pace. We're not going for world firsts or anything like that. We just don't care. We didn't have the DPS to kill the boss. Fine. I really don't care if it was me or if it was you, Anthony. Let's have another week of gearing and we'll come back next week. So, but that is my personal perspective from a casual, yes, we clear the hard content. Yes, it's probably a few weeks behind, more progressive guilds, but that works for us. So I don't really have a dog in this race. I use G-Shade. Yeah, I used G-Shade for a while. Particularly, I did use it in Final Fantasy XIV at one time, but I had it installed because I was using it with Windower in Final Fantasy XI, because that game looks like garbage, and I wanted it to look a little better, And then I was like, oh, I could use G-Shader in Final Fantasy XIV too. And a lot of the content creators do that for, enhanced machinima looks or G-pose stuff. And yeah, anyway, I don't really have a dog in this race because I don't care. If they want to ban them all and install a cheat that makes sure I'm not using them, sure, I don't care. If they want to create their own API and say, look, all add-ons can interface with this information in our dedicated API, which we will keep updated. If you interface with anything else, we will use this software to detect that and ban automatically. If they want to open up the floodgates and let them all, I don't personally have a dog in this race. I don't care. What I do care about, though, is that it's equitably enforced. And right now, and since 14 has come out in A Realm Reborn, Anthony, it has not been equitably enforced. It's always been either somebody caught you on stream and from Square Enix and they took immediate action, which we've seen progressive raiders thrown in jail live on stream over the last week, and then banned, or it's been weaponized by the community, or somebody was stupid and threw a parse in chat in the game to make somebody feel stupid for doing low DPS and got themselves reported. I feel like if you want to enforce this, great, but you better find a way to do it equitably that doesn't depend on player reports being the be-all, end-all, because that's only going to get you the ones that piss somebody off enough to report, not address the actual problem.
Yeah,
but you may feel differently.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that because for such a long time, 14 has tried to, like I said, teeter that line, and it has done it to itself. It has done it to itself by kind of playing this game of like, hey, you can do it, but you can't do it. But if you decide to take it away, I feel like there really is going to be a step up when it comes to UI and just like what types of support the game can have. And maybe that's something that can be explored over this next supposed 10 years of Final Fantasy 14. Because I mean, it's relatively like a game that's been kind of railed a certain type of way for such a long time. And maybe this is that point in time to where they can change things up to make things a little bit more player centric. And I mean, you got things like the adventure cards and everything else. So I feel like there's a lot of growth system-wise that Final Fantasy 14 still needs to go through. And I feel like this is just one of those things like housing that needs to be changed. So.
I'm going to ask the tough question. Is something like a DPS meter actively right now, because it's not supported in the game queue, is that cheating to you? Like, I think a reasonable person can look at a list of add-ons and say, oh, this one's made for teleporting your character wherever the hell you want it. Yeah, that's cheating. Discord, okay, having voice communication, I think is a far stretch from being called cheating. but is something like a DPS meter that is relatively innocuous. It's informational, and let's not talk about it being weaponized to abuse a player. That's a whole different category of why you're going to get reported. If everybody in the world first race is using them, then are they cheating? If you aren't one of the 64 people in, 8 different free companies or whatever that is participating in World First, then what do you care? It's not, PvE is not competitive in any real way in Final Fantasy besides that World First race. So what do you think? Is something like a DPS meter in this environment as it stands today, does it fall on that gray line that they're talking about? They don't have the staff to parse what is okay and what is not? Or is it just like, hey, it's informational. As long as you're not abusing anybody with it, it's fine. Or does it statistically give an edge that could be considered cheating in your mind?
So it's funny because beyond the first 3 groups or whatever that get the world first, everybody else is just going to get their complete when they get their complete, and they'll get their weapons and be done. And you know, um even just like a couple of weeks right before the new ultimate came out, lots of people were still doing T for the first time to just get, just get their weapons and everything and get it done. And that's been out for however long. So I mean, at beyond the first 3, it's kind of like this trickle effect. And I feel like because it is PvE and beyond maybe the first 3 groups that get it, it's really not the most competitive thing in the world anymore. At the end, it's did you get your weapon and did you get your title? Okay, you're good. Right? Kind of deal. Um like it is a tool that they just use to improve themselves, and it doesn't, after watching people just bang their head against some of this content, even with those things, I feel like it doesn't necessarily give them a major advantage, because at the end of the day, it's still you and the group that you're playing with, and everybody actually knowing the the mechanics more, more than anything else.
Yeah.
And there's so many bits and pieces to it that I just don't really feel that it's giving them that much of advantage over anybody else doing it.
A few points in chat that I think we should bring up, Anthony. So one, Mike, you're missing the fact that DPS meters are toxic by default. People will abuse people with it. No, I'm not missing that fact. And no, I would disagree. DPS meters are not toxic in and of themselves. The people using them are toxic, but that's semantics. I'm not missing that. I'm set that aside for a second, because the reason you would report that person, while yes, you could weaponize the system and say they're using add-ons, the reason that you are ultimately reporting that person is because they were toxic. That's the reason that you're getting them. I'm not missing that. Just saying you would report them for a different reason. And by the way, they're using an add-on, which is a violation of the terms of service. And yes, as far as the terms of service goes, they're all cheating. They're all banned. They're not able to be used. This question is more the host's individual personal opinions on them right now. Anthony, what do you think? Where do you fall on the scale? Because there are some people that are ban all add-ons. Ban them all right now and just solve the issue. Yes, you're going to piss off a small percentage of your player base ultimately. And yes, they're going to be vocal about it for a little while. They are, but you don't have a better solution right now. So implement a cheat guard upon boot up that just shuts them all down, baby. That just shuts them all down. Then there are other people that do want that approach of, if it's changing the UI to make things prettier and give me chat bubbles, what do you care? Why on earth would that be considered a bannable offense so that I can see chat bubbles? You have both ends of the spectrum here. And then I guess the far side of the spectrum, which I would assume even fewer people are on, is like, make it the Wild West, do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, I mean, I am in the camp of banning the mods, the add-ons. And the reason being, it kind of goes back to what Q just said about, when it comes to like content, it really boils down to like the person who is playing that character. Like that's one thing I can say Final Fantasy 14 does pretty well. Any type of like group content, it really just depends on each individual person's like part in this dance of mechanics and so on and so forth. So I feel like it doesn't have to be there. And yeah, sure, you're gonna piss off some people, but like you said, it's a minority. The majority of people, they don't use add-ons. Even I don't. But I mean, that's just my opinion on it. I feel like the majority won't use them, and the majority won't be affected by them. But the majority will be affected by whatever new changes come out of it, and then slowly, the people who were pissed off can kind of start using those new things that Square Enix starts to put in, because that's terms of service right there.
Yeah, and then you do cross into this really ultra gray line, which we went into more detail in the Relic Grind queue, and you kind of alluded to it earlier, is that whole accessibility issue. And I'm not talking about approachability for difficult content. That's different. I'm using accessibility in the term it's in the format that it should be used, and that is people who need some type of modification or extra thing to just be able to simply interact with it, whether that be bigger unit frames than the game by default will allow because of some type of visual impairment, whether that be audio cues that aren't necessarily baked into the game because of some hearing issues they have. You had mentioned specifically carpal tunnel and comboing keys, which I think, based on the way they're doing some stuff with Gunslinger, will eventually get there. But we aren't there right now. Now you start to tread in that really gray area of, if you say it's okay for those reasons, all right, but you can't possibly police that to make sure that Q actually has some type of visual impairment, and that's why she's using these, not because Mike just likes bigger unit frames, even though he can see just fine.
Well, and I mean, that's a thing too, right? Because the player base of this game is getting older, and eyesight for a lot of people is getting fucking worse, right? Like it's just I saw something, I think it might have been on Tumblr or something like that, and somebody was like, "Hey, not related to a game, but just related to computer use overall. Like we're all getting older. Here's a little trick: make your freaking pointer bigger on your screen so you can figure out where the hell your pointer is at." Like, right? So there's those kinds of things too. Like your player base is getting older, and if you plan on keeping the game around for another freaking decade, and all of these people are still there, right? You have people like in their 50s and their 60s, or what, like the eventual goal, I guess, is to be having people who are in their 70s and 80s playing this game. So you need to accommodate for those people. But on the topic of like not a lot of people use the mods on when it comes to, I think, the higher tier content, and not just talking about, but like talking about ultimates, at least on my server, although that community is so small, they all know each other's names, right? Like there's
You're
just
talking about the
so
people
few.
competing for like world first and stuff like that.
Not even people competing for world first, people just doing ultimates straight up. It's such a small community, they all know who each other is. If they're doing ultimates, you will have the people who will hop in for like a week or two and be like, "Oh, I think I'll try this ultimate thing," and then they just disappear, and what you have left is the people who will literally spend all the hours banging their head against the wall
Right.
doing ultimates, and it's such a small group
Yeah.
that they all know who each other is. And like down to like, "Oh, I've blacklisted this person because I just don't like them," or whatever. Like they're
Mm.
that, like, it's that small and tight knit of a community. So it's already a very small group in that area, right? You trying to use that stuff anyway. um, which I think also, at least to me, makes a little bit of a difference, because again, what they're doing is not affecting me. All I'm
Right.
doing is normals.
And
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 I definitely don't need a DPS meter to do normals. I just go
right.
in and bash the thing's face, and I'm done within like a couple of minutes.
Right, and Jared brings
Mhm.
up a good point, is that not only does it become a rabbit hole saying, okay, do we police who's using this add-on for accessibility reasons versus who's just using it because they like it, but just which add-ons you allow to fall under that accessibility umbrella starts becoming a rabbit hole of its own. Well, all right, color scheme fixes for people that are colorblind, and the colorblind fixes in the game don't meet the needs, because there are some accessibility options for that, but maybe not for your particular situation. It starts becoming, you start to see really quickly that, can there be a benefit to some add-ons? Sure. But is it possible for Square to police them the way they say they can't? I 100% believe that they can't. You know, they don't have the resources, Anthony, to sit there and go through every possible add-on plugin or that is built and say good and bad, which then sadly, whether you work for Square Enix and think add-ons are great or not, you kind of come to the conclusion that you have to have this stance of none of them are allowed, which they do. But the enforcement mechanism for me has always been super inconsistent, and that's really where my only problem lies at this point.
Yeah, the enforcement has really came off as like it's came off like kind of like they don't want to upset anybody, but that's the thing, you can't please everybody. And I feel like Yoshi P, I feel like he's starting to understand that because there's been some blunders ever since I would say Endwalker, starting from the delay. Like there's been blunders, and the community, they're very. The thing about Final Fantasy XIV's community is like sometimes there are certain conversations that people have that are very outspoken, and this is one of those things that are just very outspoken on. And there has, I feel like it could have been handled way sooner, way earlier, and it could have been just handled better. And I feel like now just needs to be the time to put down the foot, to be like, hey, no, this isn't happening. And if there is going to be some form of like inspiration from off of these like add-ons, but like a Square Enix version in the game, there needs to be like a poll or some type of like discussion with players, because Yoshi P is pretty well known to discuss with different content creators and have these live letters. I feel like there needs to be a discussion in those live letters to kind of clear out the room a little bit, because right now everyone's witch hunts. Twitter is like a playground for conversations to just go crazy on each other. So,
yeah, and you may not agree with their stance, and that's fine. Like you may think add-ons should totally be allowed and they should regulate it, but the stance they've taken is they're not allowed. They've never been allowed. If we catch you, we're going to ban you or suspend you. Or if you're reported, we're going to ban you or suspend you. And I'm sorry, we don't want to hire the resources to sit here and regulate these. We're not going to do that. Okay, fine. But now, if you're going to take that stance, my only gripe with that stance is your enforcement mechanism needs to be consistent then. And right now it's not. It's not. All right, let's move on and talk about a little bit of finances around the board. It's weird talking finances without Jason Winter.
No,
Yeah.
hopefully he's more interested in it than I am. So.
Well, let's talk about EA real quick. They did really well. I'm sure you're shocked by that. EA did really well on the back end of major restrictions and stay-at-homes and stuff like that in 2021 into 2022. And Apex Legends did finally crack that $2 billion mark. That is astounding for a game that frickin' YOLO launched when it literally just threw itself out there. And we've got Apex Legends Mobile coming out next week, May 17th. And they already had strong mobile performance. This is just gonna absolutely crush it, isn't it, Anthony? I mean, they're just gonna swimming in dollar bills.
Yeah, and the thing is, EA has been in this very particular spot, and they really owe it to Respawn. Respawn has done so much justice to this game, and just like the narrative, the characters, like, I mean, it's like as if Overwatch never left, and this is the next Overwatch.
Tori the chicken in chat, Apex is the best game I have ever hated. It's so boring, even though it's really good.
But I mean, there's just so much love around this game, and it just goes to show that, hey, Respawn has poured so much love into it, and this is basically, this is their game. They're earning off of it, and for it to go to mobile, like it's going to be earning way more, like way more, because the mobile market is so huge now.
Yeah, they're gonna 2 billion since it dropped. 2 billion, and it's not like it's doing some additional monetization that other games in its genre just don't do. It's just doing everything all of its competitors do on that front, but they actually have an environment where people want to spend money because they've created that environment. It's pretty damn impressive. Nexon is kind of pleased with its first quarter of 2022, even though it might not have been as high as they rode during the major portion of the pandemic stuff.
Yeah, but they expect, like in Q2 and stuff, for it to get back up to where they were at. So they're still pretty happy. I mean,
so you're saying they're sitting there like, y'all are dumb and still keep going and spreading this pandemic. Your ass is going to be home giving us money soon again.
I mean, they did have other sources of income and everything, though, like the Lunar New Year package for Dungeon and Fighter. And apparently Dungeon and Fighter is a very popular mobile game. So that's
another one that isn't even out here in the West yet.
Right? That's doing really well for them. So like all these little things. So it's just that kind of stuff ticking over, and they're like, yeah, it'll be fine. Like it's all gonna be good. It'll be as good as last year. So
Konami. We don't talk about Konami a lot here because there's not a lot in the multiplayer portfolio for Konami. Occasionally they leak in here with stuff like eFootball.
Multiplayer pachinko.
eFootball. They had an amazing financial year, like one of their best in a long time. And Anthony, it's all because of your boy Yugi. Your boy Yugi.
Yes. Oh man, Konami. I'm gonna have something to say about them later. But Konami, to me, they don't want to be a revolutionary studio anymore. They want to play the long game. They want to invest in money and the pachinko machines and investing in Yu-Gi-Oh, the card game, which I mean, it might be very fun for the people who play it, but the microtransactions is what's really pumping up those sales. And I feel like they don't want to take the risk with going back to those older IPs that, people have been wanting them to go back to. And I don't know.
We might have one Konami title that we're talking about on Gaming Gumbo tomorrow night over on Ready Check Radio. There might have been some images leaked this past 24, 48 hours that, maybe would have just been considered, are they real or are they not, until Konami swept in with copyright DMCAs and basically just validated the entire leak. But yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel just killing it. Want to know how much? They increased their operating profit by more than 100%.
Wow.
By more than 100%. Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, free to play. You know what? I do play TCGs. You all know I'm not a huge Yu-Gi-Oh! Guy. In fact, I never really learned the rules besides sitting down with a couple of friends and screwing around after we were done playing Final Fantasy TCG at locals each week. I jumped into Master Duel. I learned quite a bit about the game so that I knew what the hell I was talking about for the first look video. And even I walked away going, even if you don't like the game Yu-Gi-Oh!, you got to respect what they did with this software. It is really, really well done. The microtransactions are balanced well. The only complaint I gave it on microtransactions were, if you don't know Yu-Gi-Oh!, the TCG, don't spend any of that currency that you get off the bat or that you accrue through playing through your stuff, because you're going to get a ton and you'll be able to build a couple of meta decks, but you need to get online or get with a friend to find out what you should actually use that currency on instead of just blind spending. That was my only gripe, was that there was so much there. Hang on to that freebie stuff, which they were very generous with. Very, very, they killed it. They killed it. And I said this during the first look. As an FFTCG player, I looked at that software and I was like, come on, Square. Come on. Give me a digital version of my damn game. Let's go. There's no reason. Rapid fire news. I'm going to give you guys some snippet pieces of news, and I want your gut reaction. Rocket League voice chat has returned. This was a feature back when it was on Steam. It was disabled, so you only had the quick chat option, or if you were on the same platform, you could manually type to people, but no voice chat. It is now back in the game as of this week. Obviously, not everybody thrilled with this one. Immediate concerns on the Twitter announcement included just the basic harassment of women that we see in a lot of games in the online space, and then more specifically, members of LGBTQ plus communities expressing concerns with harassment as well, and questioning how Psyonix was going to enforce things here. There is a report function for it. There are limitations that you can set on who can hear you and who you can hear, or you can just disable it entirely. Gut reaction, Q. Voice chat back in Rocket League.
Is it really necessary when we have stuff like Discord, where we can actually control our interactions with people and shit? Like, is it really necessary to have voice chat built into games?
Well, so so here's the thing though with that. When you are doing a game like Rocket League or one of those competitive, and if I'm going to sit there and play with you and Anthony, then no, obviously you just will hop on Discord and we'll play Rocket League. But when you are queuing for random match after random match after random match, and communication certainly facilitates progress even between two strangers for that match, whether it be Rocket League or Apex Legends or any type of competitive game, I do see the argument that why it's in there. Yes. Yeah, because I don't want to queue up for a 5-minute match and never run into you again in any queues ever, but have to exchange Discord information with you so we can chat for those 5 minutes, you know?
I mean, that's fair. Although I do PvP and other stuff, and for stuff like that, I just don't talk to the other people. I just do my shit and leave. So
I'm sorry. I was going to just type hi, but I have to. So hi, y'all. Been binging on the pod. This is my first time catching it live. Love y'all. We love you too, Fecal Francis. I was just going to
look at the name when I saw that.
Yeah, I was going to just type hi because I had just typed to Sean, who was making fun of Konami taking forever to get Rocket League digital. But yeah, I was like, yeah, with that name, I got to say hi. Anthony, thumbs up or thumbs down, voice chat Rocket League returning?
I would say thumbs down, because I think Aspen really wrapped it up really nicely. You know, this is an E-rated game, and people are toxic as hell when it comes to competitive sports. And I feel like they're it shouldn't be there if it was gone in the first place. You know, don't bring something back that wasn't good in the first place.
Well, in defense of that decision, it was because it was garbage when they first implemented it. Now, I was not playing yet, but going back and watching older videos of content creators, it was garbage. That's why they took it out. I like the comment on this one coming from Old Glory in chat, commenting on Aspen's article. Magicman probably loves this feature very much. You're wrong. Magicman disabled that shit the minute it went live. I got into Rocket League in the afternoon. It wasn't live yet. I went into the settings and looked for it, and then I had shut it down, was doing some MMO bomb stuff. Came back later. It was live, and I disable. I shut that off. I had one dude in a game where I passed it to him. He shoots it, and I said in quick chat, "Nice shot." And the dude types to me. He sees I'm on PC. And he types to me, "Don't talk. If you can't afford a mic, I'm not talking to you." The mic I am talking into is a $400 mic. Get the hell off my computer. I abandoned matched and left him there. It was ranked. I was like, I'm going to be out for 5 minutes. That's fine. I'll go pee and have a cigarette. Enjoy your D rank. Resident Evil Reverse might actually still be a thing, as we were supposed to get this game back when Resident Evil Village came out. This is the PvP shooter portion of Resident Evil. Kind of disappeared for a while, but Anthony, we now have a recent rating from the European PEGI board and potential release on Stadia because of this is where we're seeing all of this from. And it might still be alive. 1, interested in it, and 2, does anybody care, or is it like too late now? Like, I'm a huge Resident Evil guy, but even I'm like, I might have played this when I played Village, but I beat Village. I've been done with that for a while now.
Yeah, I think it's too late. Like in the beginning, I feel like it was a interesting idea, Resident Evil multiplayer. I mean, that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool, but I feel like if you just release it by itself now, it's gonna be weird. And for the time that they're trying to like supposedly release it in July 5th for Stadia, Stadia is is dying. Like why would you release it on Stadia? And then there's been no news on the PlayStation, Xbox, and PC front. And I just feel like it's gonna end up being a failed project. I feel like it needs some type of like some game to kind of go with it, or there needs to be some type of like hype around it, because there has been nothing. Marketing for it has been silent. Like it just really just fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, Old Glory commenting here too. Old Glory, thanks. Thanks for visiting the site and commenting on these articles. I did reply to Old Glory on the article too. Didn't Stadia announce that project is not in development anymore, or do I remember things wrongly? They shut down the game making internal division for it. They did not shut down development of the Stadia or the product itself, but they shut down their own internal video game making studio. Happy birthday to Phantasy Star Online New Genesis Q, celebrating 1 year, which made me go, holy hell, it's been a year already?
I mean, that was my reaction. I even put it there. It was like the first fucking sentence. Like, I don't know how it happened, but apparently it did.
Are they doing some stuff? Are they doing like celebration stuff?
Of course they're doing stuff. I mean, they've already been celebrating, what was it, the 9-year anniversary or whatever.
Yeah, for PSO2.
And it's across both games and everything or whatever. But yeah, so there's pretty festive stuff in the different areas, and there's some general events. Of course, there's festive looking rappies, because there's always festive looking rappies
that Jason still wants to eat.
I mean, it's like a chocobo. Why not? They might be tasty. Um, so, yeah, there's going to be special items the players can pick up, including mischief symbols, and then there's the whole Captan, not with an I.
Yeah, not Captain. It's Captan.
Captain.
That'll be appearing in all sectors for everybody to try to kill. So, just the general stuff that they
Be
tend to do.
on the lookout. Be on the lookout. Activision Blizzard still trying to be anti-union. Hey, imagine that. Trying to dissuade people as the Raven software ballots are already mailed out, and presumably will be rolling in, since that vote will take place May 23rd is when they'll be counted to see if they can greenlight a union. And yeah, Blizzard's been apparently telling the company that, hey, it might be harder for us to do these projects, and it could significantly impact the entire company. And as these ballots are going out, all kinds of union busting tactics trying to go on there. They told the Washington Post, hey, these tactics that Blizzard using, they're disappointing and ineffective. Ineffective.
That is the word there, because honestly, I just feel like at this point in time, there's been the wave of like employees in the game industry wanting to be more represented, and I think it's just now to the point where like they're just tired of the corporate bullshit, the PR stunts, all that stuff, and I hope that there is no deterrent for them to vote how they want to vote. Whether that's yes or no. I just feel like at this point in time, there needs to be some type of like repercussion on Activision Blizzard for what happened to the Q&A testers at Raven Software.
They're also, Blizzard, taking flack, along with many, many other gaming companies right now, for not having a stance on the current Supreme Court Roe v. Wade decision. I should say pending decision, I guess, since it's not officially a released judgment yet. We've had companies like Bungie and a few other major game companies and some smaller ones chime in and make public statements against the court's presumed decision to strike down Roe v. Wade. Blizzard not among those, so taking flack for that as well, as are many, many companies in the video game industry who have kind of just stayed mum on the whole topic. Tori the Chicken saying the whole anti-union thing anti-union seems very American. Is that the case? It's very corporate American, yes. It's absolutely very corporate American to shut down and try to union bust. It is generally not the view of the masses, if you put it to a straight vote. Just like with anything, there are pros and cons both ways, but most people will probably err on the side of there are more cons than pros to having a union, so let's go. Finally, League of Legends is going to be getting a huge patch. It may have already gotten it. I didn't check the date. I apologize. Changing the durability of every champion, because who loves to... You like doing a lot of damage and blowing things up? Yes. But turns out when champs die fast, the game is not a lot of fun when you spend more time respawning than actually playing it. So instead of reducing damage, because that feels good, they're just going to give everybody a durability buff. So look for that. And by the way, I didn't put it here, but Q, real quick, Slipknot and Smite, the partnership nobody saw coming.
I mean, though, honestly, if anybody was going to do it, it would be, well, not high res. Now, Titan Forge, sort of high res. Because the second tournament or whatever I went to, one of the things they did is give everybody a copy of like a heavy metal CD as part of your goodie bag. So, I mean, it feels like a very high res thing to do, to just slip, something like that into a game.
Oh, Gloria, as someone who lives in the EU, union busting from corporations feels like illegal action from corporations. A lot of it is. A lot of it is. It's flat out illegal. Got to catch them. Got to catch them. They're allowed to tell you, hey, we don't think you should vote yes, and here's why we don't think you should vote yes. They're not allowed to, like, threaten you and like, do all kinds of, retaliatory things. And, like, there are regulations on what a company can and can't do. But the problem is most of our politics is bought and paid for. So, yeah. And on that cheerful note, let's go ahead and do the weekly bombs. Anthony, we're going to let you go first since you kind of already teased where you might be going today.
Oh, yeah. Well, on the subject of Konami, like I was saying earlier, I want to say a bomb to them because as a studio, they have really dropped Metal Gear Solid. They've done some weird NFT things with Castlevania. They've just kind of just went on this whole microtransaction trend. And while it might be balanced in the Yu-Gi-Oh game, I feel like everywhere else, they're kind of like just squeezing the memories out of those IPs. And I just don't like what they're doing with them. And I feel like just like how Square sold off Tomb Raider, they need to sell some of their IPs. Maybe somebody else can do some more justice to them.
Why would they do that? They need to own the rights to be able to use big boob Castlevania ladies on the back of their pachinko machines. It's what they need. That's where that cash comes from. I'm actually going to mention Konami in mine too, but I'm going to give a dub-bomb to the EA and FIFA relationship ending breakup. It was very sad to see. They're still going to take care of the children, which is the important part. They're going to try and remain friends at the company picnics. It's going to be, a bit unusual. It's been 30 years since EA and FIFA have gotten into bed together that night. FIFA now at this point plans to look around and maybe make its own game. And EA obviously has already expressed that they're going to pursue partnerships with individual clubs. They just can't use like the overarching FIFA branding and everything. So at the end of the day, I'm going to give this a dub on because I think it should lead to some more competition in the football/soccer space. which is probably good considering that Konami basically stabbed Pro Evolution Soccer in the heart by making it eFootball and then launching it the way they launched it as eFootball. So I'm kind of excited to see where this space goes, because I am a little bit of a soccer fan when it comes to video games. So I like this breakup. What do you got, Q?
Totally nothing to do with Konami. I'm giving a bomb to the XIV housing being nearly fixed. So now people can, starting Monday, people can come and get their plots, and maybe we'll actually see houses popping up in our nearly empty ward, which is going to be a little weird because we've been in it so long without anybody else being there.
Finally a home.
Finally a home. From viewers in chat, Jason Winter says A-bomb to Yu-Gi-Oh! Forever. He's so bitter. So bitter. Some things never, like, he's been off for a month and a half now. You thought he'd be a little happier. No. Tori the Chicken says, A-bomb to Rocket League for thinking I suck. I got total noobs for all matches in the placements. Won 10 out of 10, got placed in gold. Well, congrats on hitting gold. Yeah, the first time you do your placements, it can be a little rocky. Takal says, A-bomb to Yoshi P for not being swift and merciless to any and all mod users from the jump. We don't need this game devolving into WoW. Ninja Panda says, A-bomb to the water pipes in the kitchen for springing a leak, but it's now fixed. Well, thank goodness it's fixed. Big Bounce says, bomb to Ryan Reynolds. You'll have to be here for pre-show if you want to understand things like that. Old Gloria says, bomb to Anthony for providing us longer pre-show, and I wish him not having technical difficulties next time.
No problem.
From the viewers, Leenda says, I'm a fan of Legends of Aria's move, but I also got early into NFTs. I don't think it's for everyone, but I'll be playing. I really made sure I wanted to put that on. Yeah, well, you took seasons off, which, did you play after it went free to play at all, Tori? Because if you didn't, there was a mass season reset, and we started again at season 1 when it went free to play. That's probably why it treated you like you had no MMR at all when you started. And so I wanted to make sure I put Leanda's comment in here. Thank you for giving us a counter opinion to what all 3 of the hosts last week, happened to all agree on with Wilfredo, Troy, and I. Sometimes all 3 of us agree, sometimes we don't. That one we did. So I wanted to make sure that I got your opinion. Yeah, I mean, if you're into NFTs, then this is probably a good move for Legends of Aria. I will tell you, stay tuned, because the Legends of Aria team did watch last week's free-to-play cast, and Joseph Rubin. Hold on, I know the name changed, and it's escaping me just in the moment of doing the show. Joseph Rubin, the CEO of Reaper Games, used to be Blue Monster, so that's why I wanted to check. The CEO of Reaper Games, the team that now took over and owns Legends of Aria, as well as, their other Realm of Etheria game that they're doing as well. They reached out and said, hey, we'd like to come on the podcast and talk to you guys about it, and kudos to them, right? I mean, they're selling NFTs and things, which generally aren't positively received by the gaming community at large. So we sent over interview questions. We're going to get them back, and we're going to post them in a text form, and then we will go back and talk about them on the free-to-play cast as well. So whether you like them or not, whether you like where they're going with Legends of Aria, and I personally don't, maybe new information will sway me, but I don't think it will at this point. I personally don't. Real kudos to them for saying, hey, saw the cast, would love to sit down and chat with you about it. So we'll see. I will say that in my typical fashion, as Jason knows, one of my questions, the way it was even worded, I did apologize for it sounding negative because I didn't hold back. If you're going to ask to talk, then let's talk. I said, I apologize for this question sounding rather negative, but I think it's a question many would ask. How can a game that failed to capture the required audience to sustain itself already have features and technology that the larger gaming audience has a negative perception of added to it and possibly be set up for success? So I didn't softball them. No, I am professional, Takal, but no, I didn't softball them. I also asked things like, there's another one I wanted to hear. Blockchain aside, isn't there something inherently sketchy about a market run by the same company that controls the rarity of many of the items that can be sold on that market? About blockchain and NFT tech in games, while a smaller audience may want games of a pay-to-earn variety, the gaming audience at large has rejected them for a multitude of reasons. Why do you continue to believe this is the right path to take with a new product and with converting products like Legends of Aria? What's your response to the negative impact that this technology currently has on the environment? So, yeah, damn it, where's the one?
You're gonna get 2 of those answered.
Yeah, they do that.
That happens. That happens. And you know
or
what?
not at all. He got one that he didn't get any answers back on.
Yep. I don't even remember who it was at this point because I was just like, okay. And then if I get it back and there are 16 questions I sent them. If I get it back with 14 answers, you can bet there will be back and forth between me and them on why those 2 weren't answered, and a 90% chance that I will not put the entire interview up. That's just the way I operate in the back. If we make arrangements that you don't want to talk about a certain subject ahead of time, and I say, all right, I acknowledge that you don't want to talk about that, and I am still willing to move forward with the interview because there are other things I do feel we need to talk about, that's fine. If you say, hey, let's do an interview, and I send you questions, and you send them back missing, fuck you. No.
My favorite was the one we got a while back where they were just like, here's the questions you should ask.
Oh, yeah, where they recommended the questions.
Recommended questions.
What? To Jason, I know Jason liked this one when we talked about it. Your team's recent blog said the original Legends of Aria didn't receive the acclaim needed to get the audience it required. Can you clarify that a bit, since it seems like it could be read as blaming the audience for the game not growing? Wouldn't not receiving acclaim be the fault of the quality of the game itself?
That one was a spicy one. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Acclaim? Are you riding on somebody's coattails? Or are you blaming people before it's even really out?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Oh, this was one of my favorites. I don't know if they'll answer this. Do your relaunch development plans for Legends of Aria depend on new investments, either from private firms or individual players and backers, or is the game fully funded to at least reach its relaunch already? I want to know. I want to know. So, Leanda, I hope, as if somebody who is interested in this, I know we got sidetracked there, my apologies. As somebody you like this move, I hope that even these questions are of interest to you so that you can have more clarity on somebody who's interested in it, on how exactly transparent and how behavioral this stuff will end up being. And then for people that aren't interested in it, maybe some of these answers will change their mind and say they're going about it in a slightly different way, and maybe I'll give that game a look. And then some people, maybe it'll cause them to go the other way. So I hope you'll enjoy that. We'll see what happens and how many of those we get answered. Go ahead, Q.
I was like, wait. Footstone, Legends of Aria is a lesson learned. Do not pay for a game that says it's best seen in a mirror, their own mirror. The mirror, if we are lucky, will eventually break under their own self-diagnostic strain. As the wall stands a plague standing, ignorance of failure, please be brave and move on.
So we got both ends of the Legend of Aria spectrum in some of our feedback this week. Go ahead, Anthony.
Ragadori, he says, or they say, do I have a phone? No. Guess Blizz heard me. The bum to high res for doing an insane crossover with Slipknot. Also, a bum to high res for dropping the announcement like a week out from release. They had pressers for the Transformers like a month before, so it gave me time to save for it. Also, the 9 different skins on 3 gods. Not like they have over 150 plus guards to choose from.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere yesterday for us too. Like normally we get a press release a day or two ahead of time.
You don't get press releases
sometimes
from high res.
I'm not talking about high res. I'm talking in general.
Okay, I was like, we never get them.
Yeah, ever since Gabe left high res, that position at high res, like we don't get PR
Gabe
from
left
him.
high res.
Yeah, afterwards, he totally split. But it's gone bad since he left that position too. Misfit Rain, da bomb to the sun. It finally returned after 2 months of constant rain. Congrats to having your sunshine again. Go ahead, Q.
Regner Catalan. They just threw a number out there for Genshin Impact banner. LOL. They could have used 100,000 days. And let's be honest, say your internet went down and nobody could come fix it for you because they were all in lockdown. You'd, of course, be empathizing with them, but at the same time, you'd still be upset that you're not able to go online. People can get upset and be understanding at the same time.
Absolutely the most level-headed response I've ever seen, Breckner. You know, Breckner, I love you. You've been a long-time viewer and commented. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, and that's cool. We've always been friends about it, but I 100% agree with you. There are some people that are a bit toxic about Genshin Impact and its delays, but yes, it is absolutely possible to love Final Fantasy XIV and not like something that they do and be vocal about it at the same time. You are right. Question of the week last week, is there a king or a queen of mobile games for you? What are some things you love or hate about mobile games? G Soundwave says, Marvel Avengers was dead on arrival. Like, I was pumped for it, but played maybe 3 hours of it and was bored. Hell, the mobile game Marvel Future Revolution is a million times better. A million times better. Go ahead, Q.
That Harv guy. I'm digging figure fantasy as it doesn't follow the 5 game types the majority of mobile games are. It's basically Toy Story with waifus. Once you learn how the upgrade system and the rotating events work, it's quite free-to-play friendly for those of us who want to avoid the cash shop.
Okay, wait a minute. What's this called? Figure
fantasy.
Are you going to look at the waifus?
Toy Story with waifus. It's the first ever figurine-themed idle mobile game. What the hell? The best 3D idle figurine RPG. The first 3D figurines idle mobile game, Figure Fantasy, has arrived in stock. Well, these are certainly waifus. There is no doubt about that. These are 100%. Oh, look, here's their Facebook page. Yeah, these are definitely waifus. I don't know what the point of the game is, but well, maybe I do. But
the point of the game is waifus.
Yeah, it's waifus.
Make a waifu.
Make a waifus. You want a first look? Jason has offered to do the first look. It'll be the first look on a mobile game we've ever put up. Go ahead, Anthony.
Gesley says, no, I don't have a king or queen. Oh, a queen or king of mobile games. But in my job, I had time between work/duty, so I usually listen to podcasts and try out different mobile games. I do like to try them out, maybe play a few days, delete, or download something new. I just can't sink time into them, knowing that pretty much every mobile game is designed around making money from you and crippling gameplay for free to pay players. And I hate games which make you watch ads more than you play the game, so-called an ad trap game. If a game is available on PC, I will always play it on PC. Most played mobile games for me is Pokemon Go, but that game has that social experience to it as well.
Yeah, I was actually amazed we didn't see Pokemon Go more on there. And I guess maybe the argument is like Pokemon Go players maybe don't consider it a mobile game. It's kind of in its own like ARPG or augmented reality, an AR game, augmented reality type thing instead. Misfit Rain says, it's been hard for me to get into a game on my phone. It's just not the same feel. But I do like playing Raid Shadow Legends. It's an easy AFK type game. My favorite mobile game / experience is I found a site that has tons of emulators for NES, SNES, and all the systems you could think of, plus a ton of games. I bought a $14 mini SNES look-alike Bluetooth controller, and I'm currently playing one of my favorite games from when I was a kid, Dragon Warrior. Felt like a kid in a candy store flipping through all the games in that list. I even lay in the bed and stream it on my TV. It's so good. Now, what I hate about mobile games is what everyone hates. The aggressive money grabs. Raid is one of the worst. The prices are ridiculous, and you will never get to the top or even close if you don't spend money. Glad I just like the game and am not competitive in it. I love your story about the NES and SNES. Like when I pull those systems out to show my kids different things, I get that same feeling, right? Just holding my real like SNES controllers, the ones I played Super Mario World with on that Christmas day when I got that's I'm getting sentimental. Go ahead, Q.
Windshark. There's not a king of mobile games for me. I used to play mobile games before, but not anymore. There's nothing that I currently love about mobile games, but there is something that I hate, and that's the predatory monetization of the majority of mobile games.
Don't Ban Me says mobile games aren't inherently trash, but their quality ceiling is severely limited by the hardware and interface involved. That being said, yes, all mobile games are trash in my opinion. I have yet to see one that isn't.
I'm not going to ban you. I'm not going to ban you. I'm not a mobile game player either, so there's like a couple I tinker. I like rhythm games, so I've like one installed, and I don't buy any of the tracks or anything. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Thorverisk, da bomb to Aspen's voice. I know it's a little creepy to say, but I do enjoy her voice quite a bit. No, that's not creepy. That's not creepy. I get compliments on my voice from time to time. I'm sure, Anthony, you've got a radio type sounding voice too. I'm sure you do as well. We will let Aspen know that you now if you comment again, that would be creepy. Like once is cool, twice is not. Twice is not. Thorverisk, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we'll give her the compliment. You know we love you. Go ahead, Q.
Breakaway Veins. Ulala Idle Adventure is a fun mobile RPG.
Yeah, I actually had to look that one up too. Q, you kind of like those idle games too. I never my brain when you were like telling me about different games when you were doing guides or whatever. I was like,
play idle games. No.
Oh, I thought you liked those, like even ones on Steam and stuff like that.
I've played a couple idle games, but yeah, I never really stick with them. Like I've tried them out.
Oh, no, then never mind.
Is that the new thing now? Idle games and mobile?
Well, because with idle games, the upside of them is
you don't have to play them.
You to play themselves while you're doing something else, and you just check in on them. So that's
that reminds me of one of those MMO games on mobile where you can press the tracker button and it'll send you to go out to go kill the mobs. And you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, go watch my V4 first look. Absolutely.
Yeah, V4.
The back half of that first look, I hate my job. Let's get this video done. Question of the week this week. All right, let's open that can of worms. Let's just pull the Band-Aid off of it right now. What's your stance on 1, add-ons in general, and 2, specifically add-ons in Final Fantasy XIV, since that is where this week's hoopla came from. So let us know in the comments below. While you're there, give us your weekly bombs. Dub bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad in the world of gaming or just in life in general. And if you have a question for the panel, be sure to throw it down there. Could be about anything, and I'll be sure to bring it to the next show. Until then, Anthony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter at @JonesWriter. As of now, different types of content is on hiatus for the time being, but hopefully next time around, I might have something.
Q.
Mostly ignoring Twitter at Quinlan.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there at magicman1. But more importantly, follow at MMOBomb so we can tweet at you every time we go live with a stream, podcast, new articles, first look videos, giveaways, interviews, and so much more. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you on the server.